Hi, my name is Soumya. We are going to learn about the lubrication system and its servicing of components. The system has mainly oil sump, oil pump, oil filter, and oil galleries. The system pressurizes the oil and supplies to all the moving parts of the engine. This is done by a device called the oil pump, which is driven by the crankshaft. The oil pump takes in cold oil from its reservoir and forces it through a series of filters and passes until it reaches the different components that need lubrication. Now we are going to learn the functions of oil pump and its servicing.
At the end of this demonstration, you will be able to identify different types of oil pump and its function, service oil pump, tools required, trainees toolkit, feeler gauge, straight edge, equipment required, a vehicle in running condition, vehicle lift, materials required, oil sump gasket, soft cloth, gloves, non-hardening sealer. Conventional engines use cam and block engine. That means the camshaft is fitted in the engine block. It's pretty much like any other traditional engine on the inside, except it has two pistons that rotate 360 degrees and can be stopped at any time without having to wait for them to cool down. Such type of engines use oil pumps which gets drive from the camshaft. Mainly, cam and block engines use two types of oil pumps. The first one is called gear type oil pump or external gear type. The other type of oil pump is called rotor type oil pump or gerotor type oil pump. Further, the technological development in the automobile makes the OHC engines, that is overhead cam engines. Such engines use crankshaft-driven internal gear pump. Now, we are going to learn camshaft-driven pumps, that is external gear and rotor oil pumps. Gear type oil pump has two spur gears. One gear is called driving gear, which connects with the camshaft's Q gear. Another gear is called driven gear or idler gear. When the crankshaft is rotating, the camshaft also rotates and it drives the gear pump. So, the driving gear rotates and drives the driven gear. Gear pump is the positive displacement pump in which the suction is created by rotation and meshing of two gears. The fluid enters into the pump through the inlet and is transferred through the outlet port. It pumps the hydraulic fluid through two similar intermeshing spur gears mounted in a casing. When the gears start rotating and are in mesh, a suction pressure is created at the inlet port. This allows the fluid to enter into the pump. At inlet of the pump, the rotation of gears causes the teeth out of mesh. That is, the teeth starts coming out of meshing, disengaging. This enhances the volume expansion of fluid and also reduces the pressure less than the atmospheric pressure. Due to the continuous rotation of the gears, the fluid is transferred to the discharge side. The fluid moves through the gear teeth and housing of the pump and finally to the discharge end. At the discharge end, the gear teeth comes into mesh. Therefore, the volume is decreased and the pressure is increased such that the fluid is forced out of the pump. Rotor type oil pump. These pumps are designed to deliver a consistent flow of oil even under high pressure, making them ideal for use in a wide range of applications. Plus, they are relatively easy to maintain, so you can keep your oil pump running smoothly for years to come. Rotor type oil pump consists of two gears, one inside the other. The smaller center gear is the driving gear, has four lobes driven by the engine. The larger outer gear or idler gear has five lobes which is driven by the inner gear via the meshing of the gear teeth or lobes. This pump is a positive displacement type and flow is relative to pump RPM. As the gears rotate, the space between the intermeshing lobes increases, pulling fluid in, then it decreases, pushing fluid out. Fluid is pulled in through the inlet port and forced out through the outlet port. Now, let us see how to overhaul these two oil pumps. Removing an oil pump. Lift the vehicle with a vehicle lift. Before removing the oil pump, we need to drain the oil from the engine. Drain oil from the engine and collect the oil in an oil draining tray. Loose the oil sump bolts. Remove the oil sump from the engine. Loosen the bolts and remove the oil pump from the engine. Disconnect the pump outlet. After removing from the vehicle, we have to inspect the gear type oil pump. For that, remove the top cover. Measure the gear and top of the housing clearance with a straight edge and feeler gauge. The clearance should not exceed 0.15 mm. Measure the backlash in between the gears with a feeler gauge. The clearance should be in between 0.05 to 0.20 mm. Measure the gear and housing clearance with a feeler gauge. The clearance should be in between 0.05 to 0.20 mm. If the measured value is more than the limit, then decide to replace the oil pump. The more clearance in the oil pump leads to low oil pressure. If the measured value is less than the limit, then continue to measure other components in the oil system until a decision can be made whether or not to replace the pump. If no other component is found that could cause low oil pressure, then plan on replacing the pump. Similarly, we have to check the rotor type oil pump also. Dismantle the rotor type oil pump. Measure the rotor and top of the housing clearance with a straight edge and feeler gauge. The clearance should not exceed 0.15 mm. Measure the clearance in between the inner rotor and outer rotor with a feeler gauge. The clearance should be in between 0.05 to 0.20 mm. Measure the outer rotor and housing clearance with a feeler gauge. The clearance should be in between 0.05 to 0.20 mm. Replace the rotor type oil pump if the measured value is more than the limit.
Till now, we have learned about the gear type and rotor type oil pump parts, functions, and its working. Oil pump pressurizes the oil and sends to the main oil gallery. The oil is then distributed to the main bearing and camshafts. The oil pump uses its own drive shaft, which is driven by a second ring gear on the crankshaft. The pressure from this shaft is transferred through a bearing mounted below it inside of the oil pan. The bearing also act as a seal against the oil leaks. Thus, we have learnt about the overhaul of a gear and rotor type oil pump. Hope you have a clear understanding on this. Do this exercise with the help of your instructor.